Human morality doesn't start with grand philosophical concepts. It starts with biology. When a newborn cries for food or pulls away from the cold, it is acting on the most fundamental drive we possess, the innate instinct for self-preservation. Very quickly, that primal survival drive stretches to include the people closest to us. A mother instinctively protects her child, shielding the infant from danger, even at a physical risk to herself. We naturally defend our siblings and our parents because our biology wires us to care for our kin. Biology makes it easy to care for the people in our immediate physical vicinity, but scaling that localized care to encompass an entire society of strangers requires a deliberate system. Empathy doesn't naturally stretch across a city, let alone a globe. In the 2nd century AD, a Stoic philosopher named Hierocles of Alexandria developed a logical solution to this problem. He realized that our bias toward our own tribe is perfectly natural. Yet, relying entirely on that biological default limits what we can achieve. To build a functioning global society, we have to find a rational framework to expand our compassion far beyond our biology. Hierocles called this process oikeiosis, a Greek term that translates roughly to familiarization or a sense of belonging. It is a systematic, architectural model for organizing human compassion. This diagram shows how Hierocles visualized our social obligations. At the very center is you, representing your immediate physical and psychological needs. The first ring surrounding that node is your immediate family. From there, the rings multiply. The next circle holds your extended family, your aunts, uncles, and cousins. Beyond them sits your local community, your neighbor, and then the citizens of your entire city. The model pushes out to encompass your nation, then the entire human race, and finally the vast boundaries of the living cosmos itself. Every human being is mapped somewhere in this structure. Hierocles didn't argue that you should pretend a distant stranger is exactly as important as your own child. Instead, he proposed a mental exercise, contracting the circles. The goal is to actively train your mind to pull the distant rings closer to the center, treating your extended family like your immediate family and your neighbors like your relatives. This contraction relies on logic. You recognize that the stranger on the outermost ring shares your exact human nature and capacity for reason. You extend your concern to them not out of forced emotion, but because rationally they are an integral part of your whole. Hierocles lived in the Roman Empire, a society obsessed with strict social classification. Emperors dictated to senators, citizens looked down on foreigners, and millions were legally considered property. The Roman power structure was an oppressive ladder where value was determined by rank. Hierocles' concentric circles flattened that ladder into a horizontal plane, placing everyone on the same level of innate worth. He argued that beneath the social labels and political ranks, every person possesses an identical baseline capacity for reason and virtue. The foreign captive and the Roman general both contain the same spark of rationality. In an era defined by brutal divisions and systemic violence, this map of interconnected rings operated as a subversive blueprint for universal equality. This ancient Stoic framework survived the fall of Rome to shape the modern societal ideal of cosmopolitanism, the belief that we have moral obligations to all human beings, regardless of their nationality. Following the world wars of the 20th century, this ancient framework was used to build international legal standards. When Eleanor Roosevelt helped draft the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, she was working from the same premise Hierocles had, that rights belong to individuals by virtue of their human nature, not their national origin. Today, we use this framework to navigate our most complex ethical dilemmas. It provides the moral reasoning for why a nation might grant asylum to a refugee, or why an individual might donate to famine relief for strangers on another continent. Treating human rights as a global standard is an application of contracting the Stoic circles at the scale of an entire society. Writing a century after Hierocles, the Emperor Marcus Aurelius adopted this same worldview. Despite commanding the Roman legions, he wrote reminders to himself that he was a single part of a unified cosmic organism. For the modern practitioner, this abstract philosophy translates into a practical daily action. It is the conscious choice to recognize a shared humanity during mundane interactions with a cashier, a frustrated driver, or a political opponent. In these moments, you are practicing the mental shift Hierocles described, deliberately treating a person from a distant ring as though they were closer to your own center. True Stoic virtue is never achieved by walling yourself off from a chaotic world. It is realized by intentionally weaving yourself into the universal tapestry of humanity.